What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be talking about the Jets at the trade deadline and the recent chatter that's been going on. We're less than a week away. Friday is the trade deadline, March 7th. So things are starting to come to a head. You're going to see stuff already, starting to pick up, already did this weekend. And, we got some news about the Jets, and it does sound like they've been trying to make a big swing. Sounds like GM Kevin Cheveldayoff has been working the phones, trying to find a big swing that works for his team. Unfortunately, it seems like no move and no trade clauses have gotten in the way of this. It does seem like he's swinging big for specifically a forward. This has been reported by Elliot Friedman. I'm going to break down what has been talked about, 5 days before the deadline. Nick Lynham on Twitter kind of just describes what Friedman was talking about, kind of sums it up here. But he pretty much just says, Chevy's been searching for the big swings that he can take, so obviously trying to get around no move clauses, no trade clauses, and it doesn't seem like one is available to him right now, or as big of a swing as, maybe he was hoping for maybe the last couple of weeks. He then mentions a couple of guys such as Alexiak, Ferraro, and Ristolainen on defense. Now, I understand that, you can't take those big shots, and that really does suck if that's the reality, but we still do have 5 more days. I know that at some point you kind of have to figure out, okay, this is the plan. There is still 5 days left, maybe something shakes out, but right now it doesn't seem too great. If you want my honest opinion, it kind of seems like right now the Jets are going to pivot and kind of look at what a lot of people were talking about a week ago, and it's, looking at guys that they can add, and maybe they're not the flashiest, biggest name ever, but they're solid ads that you can, put throughout your lineup, create depth that way. I'm not talking about, a bunch of fourth liners, but maybe guys that can fit into your middle six and strengthen your middle six, just to give you some more flexibility, especially if there is injury. Because when there is injury, you don't want Rasmus Kupari playing on your third line, God forbid your second line, right? So, we've seen what injuries can do to this Jets team with a Dylan Samberg going down. I think it would make a lot of sense for them to add a defenseman or two. Jamie Alexiak would be a big pickup to have on your third pairing, your left side being Morrissey, Samberg, Alexiak. That would be pretty elite, especially if a guy like Morrissey goes down. Alexiak, very capable of, picking up some minutes. If they're able to get a guy like that, I think Winnipeg would be in good hands on the defensive side. Now, outside of trades, it does seem like there's maybe a little bit of chatter with Winnipeg's UFAs at this current time. Maybe Cheveldayoff is trying to, nail some of those guys down. I really hope they don't, get Pionk re-signed. I know Friedman said earlier on last week on Montreal 590 TSN that the Jets were talking to Neil Pionk. I really hope that doesn't happen, especially right now. I really don't want to see what a Neil Pionk contract is going to look like. It's going to probably be north of 7.5 for sure, with some term. And we've seen how the majority of his prime turned out here in Winnipeg with his current contract at, just under $6 million. This season he's been fine offensively, kind of a disaster at times defensively. If they're to lock him up long term, that would be a little bit of a mistake in my opinion, but I digress. We'll see what happens, see if he gets a contract here, but I do think that it's going to be a big number if he does, and it could be a little bit scary. So what this tells me is the Jets are going to probably be looking at a guy like maybe a Ryan Donato to add to the roster, maybe a player like that. Just maybe a 40-point-ish guy to add to the forward core in case there's some injury, can slot in. He's an upgrade over some guys right now. I do like that kind of move. I would love, 2 forwards and a D if they could do that. I think that's kind of more realistic for what's going to happen by deadline day, whether they do it all on deadline day or not. But a lot of things can change. I'm going to remind everybody that right now the NHL is a wild, wild world where, things are true for 1 minute and then the next that changes. So I'm holding out some hope that the Jets can find a big swing that works for them. I do believe that they've been trying hard here, and, it hasn't been for the lack of trying, as Elliot Friedman said. He hasn't slammed the door on, them making a big move or anything, but it's just at this point what's realistic and what can actually happen for them, and with the timetable that they have, how long can they really wait to make something happen before they need to maybe switch to plan B here. So We'll see what happens. I really do hope the Jets can land somebody big. I know there's been a lot of chatter about players like Alex Tuck. Not so sure he actually gets moved by the deadline. Mikko Rantanen pretty much confirmed he's going to be staying in Carolina at least until the end of this season. See what happens there. See if they can nail down a contract for him. But I don't anticipate that he'll be moved before the deadline unless something really crazy happens. But that's just the feel that I get over there. So we'll see. But yeah, it really seems like the Jets are going to be adding more middle six additions, more depth defenseman additions, as opposed to the big swing that according to Friedman and a couple other insiders, they've been trying to make for maybe the last week or two here. But I'm gonna hold out some hope. I'm gonna hope that they can land somebody big here. I do think that as time goes on, patience does pay off, especially near the trade deadline. See where prices go. Maybe somebody who comes out as a seller last minute, maybe somebody falls out of the playoff race or feels that maybe last minute they're better off selling, and somebody becomes available to Winnipeg, and they're able to make a move. Definitely not impossible. We'll see what happens, but I would really love to see maybe them pick up a D like Alexiak. I think that's a dynamite pickup on the back end. I didn't, never really thought they were going to add a top pairing guy or anything like that. Alexiak would be probably my favorite guy available right now, just because of the type of game he plays and the Jets' needs going into the playoffs. Some really good depth on your blue line. I think Alexiak would be a great grab, so I'm kind of hoping that he's the guy. At forward, I mean, anybody that's a UFA or an RFA, I'm good with, to be honest. If they're the middle six type of guy, I just really don't want Scott Laughton, because I really think that he's going to be a pain in the ass to acquire in terms of price. I think he's going to probably get a first-round pick. I think Philly's going to get a first, especially with Braden Shen probably being off the trade block or just being too expensive in general. So his price is going to climb. He's going to be expensive, and someone's going to pay for him. I just hope it's not the Jets. I think that would be silly, and I don't think he really brings a lot of impact, to what they got going on right now. And one thing to keep in mind, one thing I'm holding on to hope for, is that the Jets are a little bit hard to read, right? The Jets don't really leak anything that, the insiders are hearing. Maybe they're not hearing all of it, right? So do have to keep that in mind. But right now it does kind of seem like Jets have tried to make a big move. Maybe it hasn't happened, and from there they have to move on to plan B. But we'll all see how this all shakes out. Friday, the trade deadline coming up here. This channel has really turned into a trade deadline, or Jets trade deadline rumor channel. Wasn't my intent. I'm trying to make some other content here to sprinkle in, but until the 7th, this is pretty much what you're going to be getting. I'm excited to make other content and actually talk about this team, and going forward, that'll be the goal. Make more Jets content, more entertaining Jets content. But without further ado, I'm going to end this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and leave a comment down below what you think is realistic for the Jets to do at this deadline, or what you think would be perfect for the Jets to do. So that's all I got. See you guys in the next one. Go Jets, go. Bye-bye.